You stumble and fall. Usually it's nothing serious, maybe a bruise, maybe a scrape, but you get up and move on. That's normal. Now, picture this. Every misstep, every loss of balance could end badly. In the mountains, far from anyone and any help, even a small injury could become permanent, or it could kill you. Living in isolation, without proper medicine or assistance, meant that a broken leg or cut could easily turn into a life-changing disaster. This is the world of the Yamabushi, Japanese mountain hermits. For them, balance wasn't a skill or a challenge to master, it was a matter of staying alive. Their daily life forced them to move carefully, to read the ground beneath their feet, and to adjust constantly. Every step on the uneven slopes, every climb over rocks, every descent down narrow ridges shaped their bodies in ways a gym never could. They didn't need a workout plan. The mountains themselves were enough. The rocks, the slopes, the uneven terrain. These forced their legs, core, and feet to grow stronger just by moving through the environment. Each misstep carried a real consequence, so their bodies became alert, precise, and capable of responding instinctively. It was not about building muscle for display. It was about survival. Being on the cliffs demanded focus. One wrong step could lead to injury or worse. Over time, their bodies learned to adjust automatically. They moved in ways that kept them steady, even when the path was sharp, slippery, or unpredictable. Balance became a constant state, not a skill practiced in isolation. The extreme conditions shaped not only their strength, but also their awareness. They knew how far they could push, how their muscles and joints reacted, and how to use their weight effectively. Every climb, every crossing, every step reinforced this understanding. By living like this, the Yamabushi developed a connection with the mountains that was practical and direct. It was about moving safely, surviving, and adapting, not poetry or philosophy. Their bodies became naturally trained, constantly adjusting to the dangers around them, ready for whatever the slopes might throw their way. As the sun rose over jagged peaks, they moved along ridges and slopes that would challenge anyone today. Yet for them, these movements were part of life, every step shaping balance, strength, and awareness. Their environment demanded it, and they obeyed. And it was in this relentless world, moving constantly across rocks and cliffs, that their method took shape, a simple, unforgiving training of the body and senses, born entirely from survival. The Yamabushi were not just monks. They were mountain dwellers whose lives were shaped by the slopes themselves. Life at lower elevations or in villages offered safety and comfort. In the mountains, there was none of that. Every day, they navigated uneven paths, loose rocks, and steep ridges. Their bodies learned to compensate automatically, building strength and balance without formal exercises. They didn't count repetitions or measure distance. Each movement was practical, necessary, and risky. A step too far to the side could lead to a fall. A misjudged grasp could tear a muscle or break a bone. This constant awareness trained their legs, core, and feet in ways modern gyms can't replicate. Their muscles were conditioned, not by choice, but by survival. Living in such isolation, the Yamabushi had to trust their own instincts. They learned to feel the slightest shifts underfoot and adjust instantly. Each movement became deliberate but fluid, a natural response to the mountain's demands. Balance was maintained constantly. Their bodies reacted before their minds fully registered danger. The terrain itself became a teacher, slopes that twisted unpredictably, rocks that could shift under weight, and narrow ledges that demanded precise steps. All of it forced continuous adaptation. Over time, this built a resilience that wasn't just physical, but mental. They became acutely aware of their surroundings, able to anticipate hazards instinctively. Water from streams was cold and unpredictable, snow made surfaces slippery, and storms could strike suddenly. Every element added to the challenge, further shaping their bodies and instincts. Fatigue was a risk they could not afford to ignore, as miscalculations in tired legs could lead to injury or worse. Even simple movements, stepping over a boulder, crouching under a branch, climbing a slope, were exercises in coordination. Their bodies developed the ability to distribute weight evenly, maintain center of gravity, and respond to instability instantly. These skills were not practiced, they were lived. Despite the danger, they moved with a calm focus. They understood the mountains were not enemies, but conditions that demanded respect. Survival required attention, precision, and adaptation. Every step reinforced a subtle awareness that kept them upright and alive. This environment shaped more than just their bodies. It shaped their perception, their patience, and their discipline. There was no room for distraction or careless movements. The mountains dictated the rules, and the Yamabushi learned to follow them closely. By living this way, they developed what later generations would recognize as deadly balance, an innate ability to remain stable and controlled in situations that would unbalance most people. It was not taught with words or techniques. It was formed through necessity, repeated daily under harsh and unforgiving conditions. Their lives were a continuous interaction with the mountain, each day reinforcing lessons of stability, awareness, and endurance. And as they moved along cliffs and slopes, they carried this knowledge in every step, preparing them for challenges that went beyond mere survival. The Yamabushi's mastery of balance wasn't just physical, it shaped how they approached every challenge. Living constantly on uneven terrain meant that they could react to danger instinctively. A loose rock, a hidden ledge, or sudden wind gusts demanded split-second adjustments. Their legs, core, and feet worked together automatically, keeping them upright without conscious thought. This kind of balance went far beyond what modern exercise could teach. They weren't practicing to get stronger or faster, they were surviving. Every movement carried consequences. One misstep could mean injury, and in some cases, death. Over time, this made them precise, cautious, and aware of every inch beneath their feet. It was a form of training that couldn't be replicated in a gym or on flat ground. Their strength came from constant adaptation, not repetition. The mountains forced them to integrate strength, stability, and coordination. Their legs learned to absorb shocks, their feet became sensitive instruments, and their core held them steady. It wasn't about muscle definition or performance for appearance, it was about functionality. Their bodies had to respond to real danger every day, without fail. This constant state of alertness and adjustment gave them an edge in any situation. They could move silently and efficiently, even in difficult or unfamiliar terrain. Their perception of the ground, of gravity, of their own body, became highly refined. Every step was deliberate, yet fluid. The body learned to recover from slips or shifts instantly. The concept of deadly balance extended beyond mere walking or climbing. It was a mindset. They were aware of risk in every action. Their attention was sharp, and their movements were precise. They learned to anticipate problems before they happened and adjust in real time. It wasn't taught, it was lived. This focus also shaped their endurance. Constant movement over rough terrain strengthened not just the muscles, but the joints and ligaments, improving resilience. Even minor injuries could be fatal, so they learned to respect their bodies and the mountain at all times. Efficiency and careful control became habits. By spending years navigating these harsh landscapes, they developed a type of physical intelligence. They could sense subtle changes in the ground, detect instability, and correct their movements instantly. The combination of strength, balance, and awareness became instinctive. They didn't just survive, they moved with control and confidence where most would falter. Their bodies reflected a life of constant challenge. Every hill climbed, every boulder crossed, every precarious path reinforced their natural balance. This was training without training, an endless cycle of movement and adaptation dictated by the environment itself. And as they continued across ridges and slopes, each motion carried lessons for the next, creating a rhythm of movement that became second nature. The mountains shaped them in ways no formal instruction ever could, preparing them for challenges that lay beyond even the steepest cliffs. The balance and awareness the Yamabushi developed weren't just about moving safely, they made them effective in ways others couldn't match. Being able to react instantly, even under extreme conditions, meant they could handle situations that would unbalance or incapacitate someone less trained. Every fall avoided, every misstep corrected, strengthened their reflexes and instincts. In combat or confrontation, this awareness became a significant advantage. Their bodies were conditioned to respond naturally without hesitation. The mountains had taught them to adjust, to absorb force, to move with precision. Strength and stability worked together seamlessly, giving them an edge that wasn't visible but was undeniable. Even carrying weapons or tools, navigating uneven terrain, or facing sudden attacks, The Yamabushi relied on instincts honed over years of living on dangerous slopes. They didn't need elaborate techniques or rehearsed moves. Their bodies responded automatically. The environment had trained them better than any drill or sparring session could. Their survival depended on it. Any distraction, any lapse in attention could result in injury or death. This constant need to be present sharpened their minds as much as their bodies. They developed a heightened sense of spatial awareness, anticipating hazards and adjusting movements instinctively. The combination of balance, strength, and awareness became a form of self-protection, almost like a built-in safety system. Daily life reinforced these lessons. Walking across slippery rocks, climbing to gather supplies, or even descending steep paths was training for situations far more dangerous than ordinary life. Their legs, core, and feet adapted naturally. Each movement built strength, stability, and reflexive control. Over time, this conditioning became part of their identity. The deadly balance wasn't just a physical state, it was a mindset. The Yamabushi learned to remain calm under pressure, to trust their instincts, and to move with precision even when the situation was unpredictable. Their bodies and minds worked together in harmony, responding instantly to threats or obstacles. Even the smallest misstep carried lessons. A slip on a wet stone, a stumble over loose gravel. Each one reinforced awareness and adaptation. The mountains were a constant teacher, and their bodies were the students, learning, adjusting, and improving with every step. This integration of body, mind, and environment created warriors who were not only physically capable, but mentally prepared for anything. Their balance and awareness extended beyond survival, making them agile, precise, and resilient in situations where ordinary people would falter. And as the days passed, navigating cliffs and ridges, every movement prepared them for the next challenge, building a continuous flow of adaptation that would carry them through both the mountains and any confrontation they faced. Today, most people train on flat floors, in gyms, or on sports fields. They follow routines with machines, weights, or measured exercises. Everything is controlled, predictable, and safe. Falling is rare. There is no real danger. Muscles grow, endurance improves, but balance in extreme conditions is mostly ignored. The Yamabushi lived differently. They moved constantly over uneven ground, slippery stones, and steep ridges. Their muscles, joints, and reflexes were trained naturally by the mountain itself. Balance wasn't practiced as a separate skill. It was built into every action, every step, every climb. Their environment demanded it. Modern training often isolates muscles or focuses on performance in predictable conditions. It builds strength, but not awareness. It improves fitness, but not survival instincts. The body learns to perform under controlled circumstances, but it isn't prepared for real unpredictability. One misstep in a natural, rugged environment could cause a fall, injury, or worse. The Yamabushi, in contrast, developed instinctive control. Their legs, core, and feet constantly adjusted to uneven terrain. Their attention stayed sharp. Every step was a negotiation with gravity and the ground beneath them. There were no shortcuts, no artificial aids, just continuous adaptation. That constant challenge produced strength, balance, and coordination that modern gyms rarely replicate. They also understood their limits. Living where a misstep could be fatal meant respecting fatigue, conserving energy, and moving efficiently. Their bodies were conditioned to respond instantly without conscious thought to shifts in terrain or sudden obstacles. Balance was continuous, a natural state rather than something learned separately. In the modern world, comfort has replaced challenge. Floors are flat, shoes cushion every step, and mistakes rarely carry consequences. People grow stronger, but they lose subtle awareness of how their bodies interact with the environment. Reflexes become slower, balance weaker, and the body less adaptable. The Yamabushi's approach was the opposite. Danger was constant. Adaptation was unavoidable. Survival depended on balance and awareness as much as on strength. Every movement trained the body and mind simultaneously. Every step reinforced instincts that kept them alive. In effect, modern training prepares people for controlled situations, while the mountains prepared the Yamabushi for reality. Their skills weren't learned, they were lived. Each day, climbing, descending, and navigating difficult terrain honed muscles, reflexes, and balance in ways no gym or exercise routine could. And this constant challenge shaped more than the body. It shaped perception, decision-making, and discipline. The mountains were unforgiving teachers, and every movement reinforced lessons that modern methods could only simulate. Living constantly on the edge shaped more than their bodies. It shaped their minds. The Yamabushi learned to pay attention to every movement, every shift in the terrain, and every subtle change around them. Distraction could be dangerous, and their environment demanded full focus. This daily practice of awareness became second nature, a mental discipline as much as a physical one. They moved deliberately, but without hesitation. Decisions about where to step, how to shift weight, and how to carry themselves were instinctive, formed from years of practice in real conditions. The body and mind worked together automatically, each reinforcing the other. Awareness and balance were inseparable. This constant attention carried over to other parts of life. Living in isolation, with few comforts, meant that every action mattered. Tasks had to be done efficiently and safely. Movement, thought, and preparation were intertwined. Mistakes could not be ignored, and over time, the Yamabushi developed a form of discipline that was both practical and mental. Even simple actions became exercises in focus. Crossing a narrow ledge, climbing over uneven rocks, or moving through dense underbrush trained their body and mind simultaneously. Each step required assessment, adjustment, and execution. Reflexes sharpened, muscles learned to respond, and the mind remained alert. This wasn't training in the usual sense, it was life. Their internal discipline reinforced their physical skills. Balance, strength, and awareness were enhanced by patience, observation, and the ability to remain calm under pressure. They could navigate dangers without panic, correct mistakes instantly, and continue forward without hesitation. Their bodies had memory, and their minds remembered the lessons of every misstep and every safe passage. Living in this way also taught them restraint. Every action had a consequence. Energy had to be managed. Fatigue could be deadly, so efficiency became instinctive. Their movements were economical, precise, and purposeful. Nothing was wasted, no energy lost, no motion unnecessary. By integrating body and mind, the Yamabushi achieved a level of control and adaptability that would be hard to match in controlled environments. The mountains dictated the conditions, and they adapted, day after day, year after year. Every challenge shaped them further, reinforcing their instincts and sharpening their focus. And as they continued their daily routines, traversing cliffs, climbing ridges, moving silently across unstable ground, their lives became a continuous practice of balance, awareness, and discipline. Every motion prepared them for the next, creating a seamless flow of survival skills and mental clarity. This approach, born from necessity, would later define their unique method of training, a system that combined body, mind, and environment in a way that no modern routine could replicate. It was the culmination of everything they had learned, ready to carry them into the final lessons of their life in the mountains. The life of the Yamabushi was shaped entirely by the mountains they lived in. Every step they took, every slope they climbed, and every ledge they crossed contributed to a body and mind capable of extraordinary control. Strength, balance, and awareness were inseparable, forged naturally by constant movement in an environment that allowed no mistakes. Their legs, core, and feet adapted to uneven ground, slippery stones, and steep drops. Reflexes sharpened, muscles strengthened, and the mind remained alert. They didn't train for appearance or performance. They trained because their survival depended on it. Each day offered lessons in movement, patience, and adaptation that would be impossible to replicate in any modern gym. Balance became a state of being, not a skill practiced in isolation. Their awareness of every shift, every angle, every potential hazard was instinctive. The mountains themselves taught them, forcing adaptation continuously. The more they moved, the more they learned, and the more capable they became at navigating danger effortlessly. This constant challenge shaped their perception of risk and opportunity. They could react instantly, adjust their steps automatically, and move with precision where ordinary people would stumble or panic. Strength and stability worked together seamlessly, creating a body prepared for unpredictability. Over time, this way of living formed a discipline that was both physical and mental. Awareness, focus, and adaptability became second nature. Their movements were efficient, deliberate, and confident. Every step reinforced lessons from the last, creating a rhythm of survival that intertwined body, mind, and environment. The Yamabushi's method showed that extreme conditions could teach skills no controlled exercise ever could. Their lives proved that balance, awareness, and adaptability are inseparable from survival itself. The mountains were harsh, unforgiving, and relentless, but they produced people capable of thriving within them, mastering every challenge the terrain demanded. What they achieved was simple in concept, but profound in effect. Living fully in the mountains meant training every day without training, moving constantly without pause, and developing a harmony of body and mind that allowed them to survive and even excel where others would fail. In the end, their lives remind us that true skill is not always built in gyms, measured in repetitions, or displayed in strength alone. It is built in real conditions, where every movement matters and the environment itself becomes the teacher. The Yamabushi carried this principle in every step, every climb, and every balance maintained, leaving a legacy of survival, resilience, and human potential, shaped entirely by the mountains they called home.